Let's bring in Jonathan Turley, constitutional attorney and Fox News contributor, and John Yoo, former Deputy Assistant Attorney General and law professor at the University of California, Berkeley. Great to have both of you with us. We're sort of on the day in between here. Yesterday, we digested this indictment. Tomorrow, the former president will be indicted. Jonathan Turley, as you look at this, sort of 24 hours later, what really sinks into you about the dots that have to be connected for potential jurors to prove a crime in this indictment?
Well, Martha, the indictment is going to face some fairly strong constitutional headwinds as a threshold matter when it is introduced into court. There are serious First Amendment concerns here. And what's most striking about the indictment is the lack of any limiting principle in what the government is saying. It admits that false statements are protected, including in elections. The Supreme Court said that in a case called Alvarez. They had a politician who knowingly lied, and the court still said that those were protected statements. And so the Department of Justice acknowledges that you can make false statements, but then says, but, Trump can't because he was told that they were false. Well, he had a lot of people who were saying that these claims were false. I was among them. He didn't listen to those voices. He listened to a smaller number of lawyers who said that the election was stolen and that he had these options to take. If you start to criminalize issues like that, you find yourself on a slippery slope where the Department of Justice can arrest politicians for not accepting what they deem the evident truth.
We all remember back to the Al Gore situation. Hillary Clinton, at one point, at several points actually, said that, I'm paraphrasing here, but that President Trump knows he's not a legitimate president, raising sort of similar issues. But John Yoo, one of the other questions that is raised here when you read through this is the proposal of an alternate slate of electors. Contacting people and having them be the electors rather than the electors that were chosen initially. Is that part of this indictment potentially criminal activity, in your opinion?
Well, we should realize that this may be the most important criminal trial ever brought by the federal government in the history of the country, to accuse a former president of trying to defraud the government, trying to obstruct congressional proceedings, trying to take away the civil rights of all the voters in the country. What's disappointing as a former department attorney is how shaky the grounds are that this prosecutor is using to make those claims. And one of them is, as you pointed out, Martha, the appointment of alternate slates of electors. Some of these people did it because they thought that the actual electoral votes, and I agree with Jonathan, I didn't think there was fraud in this election. I think those electors were properly chosen. But other people thought those might be thrown out by courts. And so they were thinking there's nothing alternate slates of electors. They did it in good faith. They weren't trying to commit any kind of criminal. And that's I think the real problem here is that the special counsel is trying to bring charges for matters which people in good faith might have been taking to take advantage of what they thought were legitimate constitutional and political routes to challenge the election, rather than engaged in defrauding the government or stopping Congress illegally from counting the electoral votes.
Yeah. Jonathan, very quickly, if you can, do you think this trial takes place before the election?
Now, I think that the good money is on the May date for the Florida trial, but even that, I think, is questionable. They just put in a superseding indictment, added a party. I think the Trump people can say this is now a different case. You should give us a different trial date. So it's going to be tough. This guy's dance card is filling up fast. Yeah, indeed it is. Gentlemen, thank you. Great to have you. Look forward to speaking to you again soon. Thank you, John Yoo and Jonathan Turley. Great to have you both.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.